Welcome to the all-new Kaguyamon and the updated Cendrillmon deck, Shoemon deck gameplay guide right here. In our first matchup, we're facing off against Adventure, which is playing the Adventure bottom end or whole engine, and actually topping it off with the new EX9, Blitzgreymon, and Kaguyamon Ultra S with, of course, a bit of some of the mega levels and level 6s from the original Adventure Star deck, which is going to be really interesting. So we're going to try and see how this matchup goes. We are going second here, so I am going to keep my hand overall just because I have level 4s, 3s to work with. This is a traditional stack-based building yellow deck where you want to climb up as quickly as soon as possible, setting up resources such as boosts and trainings, and so that you can digivolve and go all the way up is really ideally what you want to be at. So here, I decided to go ahead and drop the Shoemon that can grab me multiple pieces because it's really good. This one can grab you a puppet plus a liberator, which pretty much in the deck allows us to get 2 hits very efficiently. And then digivolving into the EX version of the Shoemon in the back, so that once we push out in the following turn, we can go ahead and reduce its digivolution cost to go into our level 4. Which we have Shoemon. Now, before I was contemplating on keeping the Arisa in my hand and then digivolve into Shushu so I can play it out for free for better value, but at this moment I kind of felt like, okay, you know what, rather than that, I'll just go ahead and digivolve into the Kokeshimon, but I'm not going to use its when digivolving effect because there's no need. I'm about to get rid of this Biomon either way. I was contemplating going into the Karakurumon first, but then I might as well just digivolve additional into Shushu, hope for a top deck of Arisa of some sort, and then utilize my memory a little bit more efficiently. Because the opponent goes to 3 anyways, I can draw an additional card, which can help me out a little bit. Since I plan to delete that Shushu or Shu, either way, I can climb all the way up to Cendrill, end of turn, overclock, pop the token, make a swing, draw a card with the Kaguyamon, which puts us in a pretty decent position, because ideally when it comes to this game plan, you generally want to go into Cendrillmon first, and then you go into Kaguyamon for like securing your win con and exerting the final pressure with multiple removal and blockers and defense. You always want to use establish Cendrillmon first to go for attack and removal to delete their bigger bodies. As soon as we play against Adventure, I know always we have to get rid of their level 5s and play around their aces, and now they have such a big pool of either going into War Grey, Metal Gar Ace, or even the new Blitz Grey or Kresgura Ace can be pretty big. And once they're able to get into the level 6 and establish a second one, they can even go into an Ultra S, which is something that we don't really want to see. So we want to utilize the aggression that this deck has and aggro out them as quickly as possible. And it looks like the opponent is in a very sticky situation, because if they don't deal with this current board right here and dropping that Lilymon, we have lethal either way in the following turn. They have 3 security, we got 4 hits potentially if they don't get rid of Shoemon that's on the board. But either way, we can easily just reclimb all over again. Now the thing is, they do have Our Courage United, which is another really tricky option card to generally deal and play around with, but we're just going to try and climb up first. I don't want to attack with Cendrillmon right away if I can't DP reduce the Lilymon straight first and get rid of the level 5, because I want to utilize the overclock so that I can pop a token minus 3k and then minus 6k, which guarantees the level 5 removal, mainly really to play around the aces and trying to be as careful as I can. So I'm going to go into Karakurumon once again, try to build up a stack, and now this is where Kaguyamon shines and comes out, because now we have both of them, which gives us really good powerful effects. End of turn, I'm going to use Kaguyamon to play off the Shoemon from the trash, search and grab additional pieces first, and now I'm going to use Overclock to delete the token, ideally, which can minus another 3k to Lily, and then I can do attack, minus another 6k with the when attacking effect to get rid of the level 5 first. Now, here, they're going to use their Our Courage United because their Digimon is removed, which is a wood effect, which interrupts it, so they get to play out the Birdramon. And my understanding is that Kaguyamon triggers the same time as Cendrillmon's when attacking effect, because I deleted a token. Since its alternate effect is when another Digimon is deleted, I could delete something. But now being the Birdramon, which is on play just now, which is the newest trigger, we have to trigger everything that's, you know, first in and then first out, or newest in, newest out. So the opponent gets to resolve the Lilymon first, bottom decking one of our Digimon, and then going back to Kaguyamon, which allows us to remove it. I've been contemplating, and this is the correct sequencing of procedure effects, and I felt it was at the moment, but I'm not entirely sure as I'm recording here as well. So, and if any of you guys are judges and can, you know, further explain if I was correct in this thought process, let me know in the comments down below, and I appreciate that for sure. But I feel like this is the procedure that I was going for, and that was based on my understanding. Either way or not, we're in such a really good position in this particular moment, either way, because we can just finish them off. All they have is that Kaguyamon to push out, and what can they do? They got to Digivolve into another level 5 and try to deal with our board, which is incredibly tricky for them. We have protection against their removal. Generally, de-Digivolving is the best way to get rid of us, just because it can play around the protection of the Kaguyamon or even the Chaperonemon, which does exactly the same thing. When it would leave the battle area, except by our own effects, we just delete another puppet trait or token on the side and we just get to stay. And then Kaguyamon's insane effect is all turns once per turn get to proc again to delete them as well. And since they no longer have Our Courage United, we alleviate that pressure way early stages already. So they go into Metal Gray, but they're gonna bomb deck their tie to play out the Mat and Tie, going into the Metal Gray, de-Digivolving us, and now they can go into Metal Gar, which generally, I guess it's an attempt to try to deal with us if possible, since they know we play around their aces like the previous 2 turns in a row anyways, where we remove their level 5 before they can do anything. I guess is their attempt to preemptively remove us and try to stabilize on the board if they can. But this just gives us continuous like value, because I can easily find a way to get rid of that Melgar ace and not worry about it at all. It has no protection. It can be easily removed with our DP reduction effects prior anyways. So I'm trying to go for the same combo all over again. Digivolve up first, find a way to pass turn, and then use Overclock and try to go from there, deleting my token with Karakuru, and the insane value, just get off this level 5, just being able to Digivolve into Cendrillmon for free, for no cost, because generally it's going to cost 4 regardless. This is so memory efficient for us. And then I'm just going to end the turn with a physical training, just grab whatever I need, and then go ahead and use Overclock, delete the token, minus another 3k, and then swing with Cendrill, which is going to minus 6, perfectly 12 in total to get rid of the Gururu. Generally, it's best for them if they have a Togemon, which gives them the all turns extra 1k, which is rather important in this matchup. But since they don't have one, we can easily just finish it off. Next game, we're facing off against a new EX9 deck, or really more just like a huge powers upgrade spike from it, which is Wind Guardians in the form of like new Cendrillmon and a whole bunch of support, which is really good for blue-green, and excited to see how this matchup goes. So opening hand wasn't the greatest. We only have 1 rookie to work with. I don't have a level 4 as a follow-up, and we are going first as well. Generally in this matchup, it's a bit of a race. I want to race against their security and pressure as much as I can as quickly as possible before they're able to get into Griffomon with the Hydramon and even the Cendrillmon combo overall, because once they do, it becomes very difficult for us to actually play around and out that, because they have so many resources that they can easily play. Cendrillmon is going to dish out any Wind Guardian very quickly, that 7 cost or lower during our turn if we ever try to DP reduce anything that they have on the side. That enables them to play stuff that can suspend us, interact with our board. And even as a matter of fact, Cendrillmon has such high DP, which is at least 15k, makes it very difficult to actually remove outright from the DP reduction effects that we have from Cendrillmon. As a matter of fact, they also have Puppetmon Ace, which can de-Digivolve us, and also bomb deck suspended Digimon. So here we're trying to set up as quickly and try to climb up as quickly as possible, but in this turn I felt like I just had to go for it because I want to race against them. I'll drop that Shoemon to search, finding the perfect piece I need, going into Karakuri, deleting that shoe. Now I can go into Cendrill, and I go for a regular check, which I normally sometimes don't, depending on the matchups, which you guys may have seen in the adventure one from prior, which I don't tend to attack by itself first, but because it's a race and I want to deal damage anyways. And the thing is, I know in this particular matchup in their deck, they suspend us down either way. So with that in mind, I might as well just attack and do some damage and set up for so that I can pressure lethal quicker than usual and pressure them, and pretty much, you know, the time is ticking, you know, no pun intended with like the Cendrillmon deck and all that kind of stuff. But we want to tell them that we have power to keep attacking and attacking, because technically in the next turn we have lethal. We play out a token, we could swing all 3 things and then delete Overclock and finish them off as a matter of fact. So they already have to deal with this, and they don't have enough resources to set up and get there because they have to find their pieces. They need to take their time a little bit as well to gather what they need, because it's still quite heavy requirements to go into what they need to. They need to find a level 5, they need to go into Griffomon, they need to find a way to even like play out like Hydramon as well, and with like even a 5 memory with like the Davis and as well as having the Jade memory boost in total is not going to be quite enough there. So they go into Cendrillmon here just to suspend us down. They ideally would probably want to take down our Shoemon, so they go with the Floramon and crash into it. Now this makes me a little bit concerned actually, because I don't have protection with the Karakurumon anymore, because now I don't have anything else on the side that I can delete. And if they find a way to remove us this particular turn, if they can, then our stack is just completely gone. But looks like they can't find the piece they need, so they go into Griffmon, and then they play out Woodmon, which is also a tricky card to deal with, because now I have to like really think a little bit here at the start of main. First of all, make sure to gain a memory with Arisa, which I did. But the other thing is I'm choosing if I want to play the token or not, because if I play the token out, Woodmon is definitely going to suspend my Cendrillmon, and I won't be able to dish out like double attacks. And that's probably their best interest, because there's no need to suspend our token with the Woodmon's effect. And I'm thinking, okay, if I don't play the token, then I just swing with Cendrill and then find a way to like play out like a level 3, and then maybe find another way to play out a token, which I don't have the promo Shoemon in my hand just yet. So this is my plan. I play out the token either way. I know for sure Woodmon's going to suspend our Cendrill there. And then I'm going to go from here, which then I discovered a way that I can actually kind of take out the Griffmon, which is the #1 priority. The Woodmon is not as much as a priority. I mean, as much as I want to, I can actually try to remove both bodies, because now thinking back on it, maybe I shouldn't play the token. I could have swung with Cendrill into the Wood, -6k to Griff, and then play out another body somehow, and then basically use Overclock end of turn, and then when attacking, -6k again to Griff, to finish it off that way, so that I clear 2 bodies. So I could actually play this turn a little bit better, but in the end I kind of find my other way like weaving around through, where I drop the Karakuru, delete one of my tokens first, and then I Digivolve into Cendrill, and then the new Cendrill is going to play out another token. Now I can overclock with the suspended Cendrill to pretty much go for another -3k on the Griff, and then swing attack -6k in total into their security. Leaving the Woodmon on there is relatively scary, because it can give them a little bit of a comeback potential. But I feel like, again, I'm in a much better position, because again, all they can really do is Digivolve into A5 and then go into 6, and they might, you know, have to find a way to actually drop down 2 level 6s in order to actually even DNA into Cernumon. And I'm trying to take every advantage I can to not let them get into it. Because like I mentioned in the beginning, if they can get into it, it becomes very difficult for us. And we don't want to see that happen. So in the next turn, I pretty much have lethal. I can make so many attacks to them. So they go for Wind Guardian, which is the sort of like the field option, or like the base option card that they get to tuck into security. And with that, it also put in quite a bit of pressure, because it allows them to play a level 5, and then once they play out level 5, they can threat a Puppet Ace, which I know they quite likely would have in their hand, and Puppet Ace can do a lot of stuff, because again, it can de-digivolve, bottom deck us if we're suspended. I believe itself is also a blocker to stop us from attacking as well. So that can be a pretty tricky thing to play around, as long as I gotta remove all their bodies. So looks like they're gonna have to go into Griffmon here. Once again, play out another level 4, I believe, and there's not too much they can really do here, but they can actually alliance with the attack with Vortex, because that's what the Wind Guardian option card does. But thankfully, because of Karakurumon's inverted effect is just so good, giving us the protection that we needed, we can pretty much just delete the Hanimon on the side, and it just doesn't matter. Start of main, we got double Cendrill, so we play out 2 tokens. We're gonna Evil for 1 cost into the Shoo, which plays out another token. And the one that plays out Shoo will be deleted at the end of the opponent's turn. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So whenever I'm going into the Karakurumon, I'm always making sure to delete that particular one, so then I can always have the other expendable familiar tokens or attendant tokens, so that those can stay on the board and I can kind of use them however I want to. So I'm going to go for a normal swing. First, draw a card as well, do some DP reduction while attacking, and then find a way to clear off both bodies at the same time. I'm going to go for a scramble play, Digimon the Chaparral here, because I don't have another Karakuru to utilize. I already burned through 2 so far this particular game, but I can still play out another Shoe, and then use this effect to reduce the Digitalization cost into Kokeshi for only 1, and then I can pitch away a card, -4k to the Kiwi, just to, again, clear board as much as I can, and swing normally with this Cendrill, reducing by the Griff by 6k, checking into the Wind Guardian security, and it's a Parasmon, which tells me, of course, there's no level 5. No level 5 means no ace threat at all. Swing with Chaparral, finish it off, they suspend us. All I have to do, go into Kaguya, end turn, play a bunch of stuff, and then use overclock to pretty much swing for game. This game, we're facing off against the DM trait Kaguyamon deck, which is honestly a very insane deck, which can do a lot of things. Pretty difficult matchup just because of all the two boxing effects that they have. And here we actually have our friend Dan back here trying this deck out instead, and instead of us playing this time, he wanted to give it a shot, and you guys can see sort of like his play and thought process, which is a little bit different of a different perspective of a different player, which we can also sort of like look at together and commentate over to here. So the opponent's gonna start off first with the Biomon training right off the bat, and then going into the Greymon. Generally, they're trying to rack up a lot of level 4s underneath their stack, so then eventually they can have it in the trash, and then they can set up so then Kaguyamon can use assembly to play it out with cost reduction. So Dan looks like he's going to digivolve into Shoemon, which is the only rookie he had to work with at the point, and then he had to hard drop the other one that has a cost reduction. The downside I can see here already is that he's missing a level 4, and sometimes when it comes to playing the Cendrillmon deck, it feels like you don't really have a lot of time for the luxury to take it slow and find the pieces. I feel like maybe he could have considered going for the offense training, grab a piece first, and then see where he goes from there, instead of just dropping the Kaguyamon and just deleting the Shoemon and get to play it back, which is not too bad with Kaguyamon. But the only downside is it's not really getting a whole lot of value right off the bat in terms of like cycling and gathering cards, because like generally you want to gather as many cards as you can into your hand, and then eventually you can pop off. Right now he still needs to find like another whole new line to climb up. You know, there's not a lot of opportunities for him to set up like his memory boost if he chooses to do so here, which generally I would say do that more, but I can see he's trying to get the value to play the Arisas. And like I said, I would actually take the opportunity to play like the offense training and a physical training, and then like drop another physical training or another searcher, just to ensure that I can climb up in the following afterwards. I think he's tempted to see if he wants to go for like Alliance 2 checks, which I kind of get it too, because in this matchup, you do want to rush the Kaguyamon down and try to take advantage as quickly as possible, because you don't want them to get there. Eventually, when they do get into Kaguyamon, things can get pretty ugly and pretty difficult to play around moving forward. So I think this board is actually not too bad now in hindsight looking at it, because he sets up a pretty good wide situation right here. He's pretty much like pressuring lethal in the following turn. The opponent has to push out and do something, and he gathered quite a lot of pieces using the end of turn with Kaguyamon to play another Shoemon back from the trash, which is perfect to find exactly what he needs, and as well as having a Chaperomon. The only downside that I think he's missing right now is a Cendrillmon. He really needs the Cendrillmon that can help him push for game and go for really explosive attacks, which is again also rather unfortunate because it seems like he wasn't able to find the pieces he needs in the early stages. Now the opponent is going to come out, they're going to have Greymon with 4 different sources underneath, and they have Analog Man, 2 different kinds of analog used to utilize, and they're going into Skull Gray, which is going to do a massive mill right here, hitting as many level 4s as they can. Unfortunately, no level 4s on that side, so that's pretty good. That's what we want to see in this position in order to win, but they get to grab the Chimera back from trash, recycle pieces, which is pretty good, because once the Skull Gray gets deleted, hopefully there's more level 4s for the Chimera player, and then that's what they're hoping for and looking to get into Chimera from there on. This might be a tricky position, because the thing is with Skull Greymon, it doesn't really mind being deleted because it can float bodies back. And with Kaguyamon's Alternate effect, which does delete and disrupt, which is kind of neat, but generally when Kaguyamon deck is pretty good at playing around with like on deletion effects or anything that just refills the trash, and then they can just go up all over again. So look like Skull Gray is going to attempt to swing into Chaperone here. Dan's going to block with the Shoe. Shoe is going to get deleted. Kaguyamon is going to end up deleting it, and then now the opponent can hatch Analog Youth, hatch an egg, gain a memory, suspend, and also grab something back or play something back with the Skull Gray. They're counting on how many cards they got in trash right now. It looks like there's 4 different level 4s at the moment, so still missing 3, which can be a really tight position, because if they're not able to establish something currently in this turn, in this board, then we'll finish them off in the next following turn. So it looks like they play out a Sukamon, which I also don't think they have enough like resources to like tuck sources underneath and then digivolve all the way up at the end of turn either, just because you do need to have quite a lot of specific version traits that it needs, that it looks for in that stack too. So the opponent's going to go for the meat delay, tuck one underneath, digivolve into Chimera instead, and I think maybe their best interest is to actually tuck like a yellow Digimon, and then so that they can attempt to delete the Kaguyamon. Looks like that's what they're targeting here. And this puts Dan in a very, very tough spot, which I can see he deletes the Shoemon, which at first thought you might think, okay, maybe he should delete the Chaperonemon instead, and then that way he has Shoemon, which is still a blocker that can stop the attack by blocking. But the thing is, there's the Unimon inheritable, which will minus 2k to the Shoemon, and I think the opponent intends to crash the Chimeramon into the Kaguyamon. Otherwise, here they pretty much DP reduce the Kaguyamon by 2k and swing over it. And again, it's pretty tough because Dan doesn't have a level 6 that he can work with, so I can see he's trying to desperately find it. And I think generally how I like to play it, what you guys can see in the first 2 games, is that you want to gather as much momentum as you can instead, just by establishing those option cards on the board. You have that, and then you can go for a big clapback play when you need to, whereas I feel like you might be playing a little bit awkwardly behind here and there. With one memory here, no Cendrillmon to get into. Again, it's just really tough because then Chimeramon lives. As long as it does, it's going to continue to do 2 checks 12k at a time, which is still a very decent amount of DP, which is likely to survive those checks. Now the opponent's going into a second Skullgreymon, which can help them recycle stuff as well. Once again, trash more stuff in there and grab what they need there. So Chimeramon is going to go for 2 checks here. Not going to be able to find value in the security, and there's nothing you can really counter against them just quite yet. Again, at this point, it's either having like another Cendrill or another Kaguyamon would be most ideal, but they're gonna go and raid and take out that Chaperonemon, which he is now forced to rebuild with the Shoemon that he only has in the following turn. The other thing, it seems like he's not able to use the 3-cost Arisa to play out another rookie. Maybe hopefully another one that can search and find the piece that he needs, but yeah, he is starting to run out of steam, and now the ties have really changed with the board presence. He's really forced to play from behind. Otherwise, the opponent could potentially end the next falling turn as well, just because if they have enough sources, they can hard drop the Chimera, they can Skull Grey attack, that's like 3 hits in total, and if they have enough sources to do assembly, Chimeramon can just rush and finish it off. So he has to find a way to answer. It looks like he's considering whether of going into Kokishimon or Shoemon. So it looks like we're going to go for Shushu is going to play out the token, which is going to be deleted at the end of the opponent's turn. But if you manage to find like a Karakurumon in the process and a level 6, that would be the best situation. But now I feel like he really needs to also try to Digivolve up into Chaperone for reduced costs, and then with that he can play out the Shoemon, and now finally there it is. I think it's a little bit too late, unfortunately. The Karakurumon and the Kaguyamon are arriving at this point now, because you rather had the Karakurumon to evil for free. But he does have a scramble to work with, so he can go into Kaguyamon and still keep turn and still stabilize from there, which is not the worst case. And then now he can think of, okay, there is a potential lethal where he can go for like 2 checks and then rush token for the game kind of thing. But the Chimera does have blocker and is still sitting at 12k. So an alliance attack needs to be done in one way or another. And I think he's thinking of like how he wants to attack. But the thing is, if either level 5 gets deleted on the opponent's side, they still have the Analog Youth to steal the turn back, which is really tricky. And you guys can now see that he's finally found the Cendrillmon, which I think is also a tad bit too late, because I think the opening hand looping back is just like he's kind of forced to play with a Kaguyamon first. Generally, you want to go for Cendrill and then Kaguyamon after. Otherwise, it can really come down to that whole turn 1 play of like just dropping at level 5 and giving the opponent too much memory to work with in there, and they were able to snowball all the way here. So it looks like they're going to go with Alliance with the token, suspending the Shoemon for the extra attack, because the token does have rush because of the 4-cost Arisa. And the opponent does block the attack, preventing the double hits from going, because just in case if you do hit into like a Tamer or another option, the second check will go through, putting them down into much lower health. But now this is where Kaguyamon gets the proc come in, deleting the Skull Grey. And I think he was hoping that, okay, then maybe at least he can kind of like set up some blockers at the end of turn with the effects. Now, a bunch of stuff is going to happen here. So he's going to go with the on deletion of Skull Grey first, which will play out the Monochromon. Monochromon can now pretty much use the on play to disrupt and de-digivolve the Kaguyamon and finish it off. And now he gets to choose actually back to Chaperonemon. Itself has overclock. He can pop the Shoemon and actually make an attack into opponent's security one more time and try to take advantage of the Chimeramon being suspended at this moment. Now, the only downside with overclock is that you can't attack over a Digimon. It has to be a player specifically and finding a Monochromon there. So with that, it also means in the alliance check with the token alongside with Shoemon earlier would have probably just get deleted off the Monochromon in the first check either way. Now the opponent has still 3 potential lethal hits here. No aces on Dan's hand either. Generally this deck doesn't have any aces just yet, so it's not going to be able to like stop the attacks. Monochromon is going to go for one more hit right here, and the opponent is assembling and counting all the Digimon that they can have to go in Chimera. Looks like they only have like 4 or 5, which means they're still missing a little bit, which may give Dan a chance for a final clapback, because they need to find a way to get rid of Chaperomon. If they can't get rid of Chaperomon, Dan has the Cendrillmon to go for aggressive attacks. But it looks like they're going to go into Chimeramon by using Meat and having to tuck a source, but they don't seem like they have a yellow source that they can tuck. So they're going to have to tuck a green source. So with Chimeramon, it's not going to be able to delete the Chaperomon, but at least establishes 2 blockers on the opponent's side. And it looks like they're going to end with a Analog Man instead, passing Dan back to 3 with the triple Arisa. He has 6 memory to work with. This could be really good. This could be a potential comeback that he can actually force and try to finish it off. But it looks like he's going to go into Cendrill first. Cendrill is going to play out the token. And generally, I think it's best to Digivolve in the back first, draw the cards, and see what you can find from there. He actually has an option to even like play out outside in the battle area by like just hard dropping a Shoemon first. And then if he's able to use Karakurumon to climb up, that could be that way, but the Digimon that climbs up there doesn't have the rush to go for the attack either. But you have the 4-cost Arisa that can give you that opportunity, and you can try to climb from there. But again, there's not a lot of memory he can work with. Even with 6, this is kind of a tough spot. So he's going to have to decide how he wants to attack. Looks like he's going to go for a normal swing with the Cendrill after the token being deleted or blocked with the Chimera, and now he gets to DP reduce a ton while attacking in total, which gets rid of the Chimeramon, and the opponent blocks with it to stop that final attack as well, not letting any security through, which they don't mind losing that Chimera, because if they're able to find another one, they can just replay all over again. And here comes down the promo Shushu, with its on play, getting to play out the token, proceeding to end of turn to delete the token, minus 3k to the other remaining Chimera, and then swing with Cendrill to minus another 6k, which isn't enough to get rid of that Chimera. And unfortunately, there's no defense, no Kaguyamon on the side to go for blockers either, and the opponent swings for game. The Mega Machine playmat and sleeves are live on the AVAULT store, so make sure to grab yours right now. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, whatever you are. See you in the next video, and this is AVAULT signing